Welcome to Help for the 401 Clueless. This is Richard Victor. If you've ever said or thought that, well, you know you have a 401k at work, or 403b, IRA, SEP, or any kind of self-directed retirement plan, but you don't know exactly what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to fill out the forms they give you, how you're supposed to pick the right mutual funds, even what a mutual fund is, then this program will help you with all those things. We start with the basics, but then move beyond the introductory level with specific steps to follow and demonstrate clearly the tools and techniques you can use to make quality informed decisions. If you went to a financial planner's office, he or she would go through a process to help you figure out where you want to go and how to get there. It's a 5-step process. Start by setting specific goals so you know exactly the outcome you want. Then create a balanced portfolio that has the greatest chance of getting you there. Then come up with an investment strategy. How do you decide what you're going to invest in? Then look at all your investment choices and see which ones best meet your strategy. Finally, monitor the results going forward, making adjustments where necessary to stay on course. The best way to learn to do that, I believe, is by example. You'll want to estimate what your income needs will be after you retire. Now that can be difficult when your retirement is many years away, but as a rule of thumb, most experts will say you need about 80 to 90% of your pre-retirement income after you retire. That percentage is called the replacement ratio. How much of your pre-retirement income do you need to replace? And that's simply your post-retirement expenses divided by your pre-retirement expenses. It's somewhat arbitrary, but Emily decides she will likely need 90% of her pre-retirement income after she retires. Multiply her current salary, $38,000, by 90%, and we determine she'll need $34,200 annual income to maintain her standard of living. Let's set this as a minimum goal. We can come back later and see if it's possible to set a higher standard. Type this address, www.banksite.com. Click Continue. On the left, click Calculators. Scroll down, and under Retirement, click Simple Retirement Calculator. There's a short form to fill in. Annual income required. Emily would enter $16,992, the amount of her retirement shortfall. Number of years until retirement. Enter 0. No, it's not because you're going to retire this year. We enter 0 to get the answer in today's dollars. Number of years required after retirement. Experts are saying you should plan on living to your early 90s. After all, you don't want to live longer than your money, so plan accordingly. If Emily retires at age 67 and makes it to 92, that's 25 years in retirement. Annual inflation. We'll stick with the high side of the average annual inflation rate and type 3.5%. Then annual yield on balance, or how much interest will your money earn while you're in retirement. I like a realistic but conservative estimate and use 6%. Now click the Calculate button. It reviews our inputs, and here is the answer. It says you will need approximately $323,750. And this table shows how it works out for every year in Emily's 25-year retirement. Research shows that for every level on this risk-to-reward spectrum, there is an ideal portfolio, just the right mix, which would get the maximum amount of return for a given level of risk. An investor who only wants to take a low level of risk would expect a lower level of return. An investor who wanted a higher level of return must expect to face a greater level of risk. Similarly, an investor who wants to take a small amount of risk cannot expect to see a high level of return. Someone who is taking a high level of risk but is expected to earn a moderate rate of return does not have the right mix. His or her portfolio is inefficient because they're going further out on a limb but don't have the expected average returns to justify the added risk. Start at the top by entering the current value of your portfolio by asset category. We'll do this for Emily now. According to her statement, the value of her money market funds or cash holdings is $1,870. Notice that when I type, a bar chart appears in the bottom of the worksheet. Click in the next box and enter her bond holdings, which add up to $5,610. Again, as I type, the bar chart changes. And finally, here is the model asset allocation plan telling us clearly what percent goes into what type of investment and how much to add or to subtract from each. According to this worksheet, Emily is overweighted in bonds, small cap stocks, and large cap stocks, and she is underweighted in cash and international stocks. Here's the best way I know to take all of your investment options, lay them out on the table, and let the cream rise to the top. Go to www.morningstar.com. Morningstar is a leading mutual fund analysis company and very well known for providing objective research reports. On this top navigation bar, click Tools. Scroll down, and in the Research Tools sections, under Compare, click Mutual Funds. Each fund in this list has now been given a score and ranked from highest to lowest according to this set of criteria on the left. T. Rowe Price Growth Stock Fund scored highest, Lord Abbett Affiliated scored lowest. But before we continue, we need to change some of the criteria used in this report. Not all of them are appropriate for evaluating mutual funds for a long-term holding inside a 401k. So click Customize Criteria. I am interested in Morningstar's opinion, so I will leave high star rating, so that I'm more likely to find those funds that Morningstar rates with 4 or 5 stars. Morningstar ratings are on a scale from 1 to 5 stars based on a fund's historic returns over different time periods, compared to other funds in its category, and compared to how much risk is in that fund's portfolio. It's a useful tool to help find lower risk, higher return investments, but I wouldn't rely on it alone to make an investment decision. I am definitely interested in a low expense ratio. A mutual fund is a business, and just like any business, income minus expenses equals profits. A fund's income, its investment returns, can be all over the place, up, down, win, or lose. But expenses almost always stay constant. Staying with low-cost funds is probably the only thing where I can directly influence my long-term results. Now you can see that the weighted rankings have changed the scores, and some of the positions may have changed as well. If you want to see how each fund earned its score, point your mouse over the fund name to see its report card. We see each criterion with Morningstar rank from 1 to 10, multiplied by the weightings we selected, and then at the bottom of the report card, all of the scores are averaged for the final total score. Fidelity Contrafund earns 9s and 10s for all criteria except low expense ratio, that's a 6. It appears that Contrafund has about average expenses, but has turned out well above average results. We said before that in a traditional 401k, a dollar that goes into your plan is not a dollar that comes out of your take-home. What would your paycheck look like if you did increase your 401k contribution? While it's not the same as your company's payroll department, we can get a very good estimate. Go to www.paycheckcity.com. Under Standard Edition, click Salary Paycheck Calculator. Now let's see what happens if she increases her 401k contribution. Click New Calculation. Everything else stays the same, but we'll change 6% to 7%. Now her 401k contribution is about $111, roughly $16 more each period. But her take-home is $1,182, about $13 less than it was previously. So $16 goes into the plan, but only $13 comes out of take-home. She saves a couple dollars from federal withholding and a few cents each from the state taxes and insurance plans.